Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are actually doing my very first collab on this channel and I'm so excited. So as you can probably see from the background, I'm going to be doing my very first masterclass today, and this collab is with the lovely KaShay Warren. We're going to be doing David Baldacci's masterclass. He teaches mystery and thriller in this one. This is my very first masterclass ever. I've never done one before. I've wanted to for quite a while, but it wasn't until I saw KaShay, Becca and Kate's collab doing N.K. Jemison's masterclass that finally made me go, all right, I'm ready to delve in. I really want to do it. So I am going to take that masterclass too. But today we are going to do the mystery and thriller masterclass, so I'm very excited. My current work in progress does have a lot of mystery elements involved, so I do think this masterclass is going to be very beneficial for this and for potentially any other mystery stories or thrillers I want to write in the future. So I'm super excited. Yeah, so this masterclass goes for about, I think, 4 hours roughly. There is a workbook involved as well. I decided for this video I'm just going to focus on what I learn during the actual classes itself, and then potentially doing a part 2 video going through the workbook that's provided. It did look quite intensive. It was like almost 100 pages long of the workbook that he provides with his classes. Yeah, so I think I'm going to cover that in a different video, but I'm super excited to take this class today, and yeah, let's see how we go and what we learn.
For me, everything comes down to the story. Regardless of what story you're trying to tell, it's about building a world that didn't exist before you thought of it.
Okay, can I just say, we are like 1 minute 30 in, and I feel like I'm watching some kind of movie, like some cinematic movie. The music is so dramatic and it just sets the tone so good. I don't know. It just made me laugh. I don't know. Like, I don't feel like I'm watching some kind of class. Like, I'm about to get the ultimate schooling lesson of my life. Anyway. Okay, we haven't even started the class yet, but I just had to point out because I'm so excited. So during his introduction, him explaining right now, so he talks about how when he was writing his first book, he was actually a lawyer. So he had a full-time day job. So he's going to go into more detail on how to make the time during your day or during your week to find how to make time for your writing when you're doing like a full-time job. So I thought that was really awesome. Like, I just need to point that out because currently I have a full-time job as well, and I'm finding it hard to, you know, work out when I can actually work on my book. So I just thought that's really awesome that he's going to go into that. So yeah, if he shares any really good tips, I will definitely let you guys know. Okay, so in the first part of the masterclass, he talks about finding the idea. So he mentions going about this in a few different ways. So first one being taking what you see day to day, how you perceive things, and kind of twisting them. So giving them like a little creative twist that could make them potentially a story idea. So that's one example he gave. He also mentioned writing stories based on real life events that have occurred. So these could be like world current affairs, things like that, personal experiences with things that have happened in his community, you know, things that have happened in certain industries. So that's also another thing he mentioned. Also talks about making sure you're setting yourself up for success. And to do that, you should be writing about things that you're really passionate about, so you don't lose that, you know, that excitement, that will to sort of keep pushing forward. Because, you know, writing a story isn't something, or writing a novel, I should say, isn't something that you do just, you know, over a weekend or so, unless you're that good. You have to revise, edit, you know, make all those changes necessary. And in order to be able to do that and stick with the project long enough, he definitely recommends writing about something that you're passionate about. So yeah, I thought that was solid advice. So yeah, that's about it so far. We're going to delve into the next part where he talks about research methods and resources. So we'll see how we go. Okay, so I'm still going through the next section of his classes, but he started talking about setting, and he said some things that I was like, that is smart. So my current work in progress at the moment is my Western apocalyptic fantasy. So obviously there's going to be a lot of research involved in terms of making sure I get the setting right. It is going to be set in an alternate Earth-like world. So obviously I can draw similarities to our current world, but I'm going to change a few things and make it its own world as well. But the one thing that he talked about in regards to setting that really intrigued me was how he described setting to be its own character, which is, I don't know, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. But without hearing him say it, it's like I didn't really think about it, you know. So instead of it just being a place that your character walks through, it's actually taking it to the next level where the setting that it takes place in can really influence the characters that, you know, are there, whether it be their attitude to things, where it changes their goals, their perspective of life, you know, creating their motives. The setting can actually really help determine a lot of different aspects in the character's life, and I thought that was like genius. Like really smart advice. So yeah, I just wanted to share that little nugget of wisdom, because I thought that was like I need to remember this for my story, because I really want the setting to have a strong impact on my characters and how they react to things, and yeah, just their mood in general. So really happy with that. Just, yeah, some really good stuff. Okay, so finishing up the section on research and resources, he talks about where you can get all the information that you're looking for a story and how to conduct the research. So whether that is finding a contact to interview someone. Also, this guy showed like 5 binders of research he did for one novel, and it was only to cover like the military related information. He had like 5 full binders of research, but then he talks about only using a little bit, like don't overload all the facts and information into the story, so to really cut it out and condense it. So I thought that was really interesting, and a lot of research. So that's 5 full binders, like just blows my mind. Yeah, so he also talks about how to incorporate when you're trying to give like those technical facts, tell the reader how things work without, you know, boring them or overloading with too much information. So he mentions using analogies and, you know, related examples that can help simplify the ideas so that it's easier to understand, especially you know, like in a short paragraph, so you're not just going on and on and on about whatever the topic is. Also talks about using a character within the story to help explain the information. So making them like an expert on the subject, and then have them describe it to the main character or like a related character, and in that way it kind of helps the reader as well get to learn about all the information while this expert character is describing it to another character. So I thought that was also a really good idea. Still can't get over the 5 binders though. I don't think I'm going to do that much research for my story personally. I mean, he also talks about when you've done enough research and knowing when that is, and that you will just know, which can be hard for a lot of writers, I think, because it's easy to use research as a procrastination tool, which he also talks about. I actually wrote down the quote. He actually said writers can be really good procrastinators, which is, I don't know one writer who doesn't procrastinate, so facts. But yeah, basically he thinks that breaking up the research with other tasks, so whether you stop and write and then go back to research and then do it like that, can help you manage how much you actually do and ensure that you're not just using all your time on research. So you're actually writing the book as well, because that's obviously why we're doing the research in the first place. During this next section, David goes into outlining. So the first thing he talks about is be a bit more flexible with how you can undertake this. So if that means that you change the way you outline or plot for each novel that you write, then that's a good thing, because it means that the way that you're doing it is according to how you want to tell the story and what kind of story is involved. So he says that's completely fine to change up how you do your outlining or plotting, which obviously there's no set law that means, you know, there's no set law that determines you can only outline one way for all your projects. But it's something that I've never really thought about in terms of like having a different method I can use for each project. I don't know, ever since because I mainly use Save the Cat and the beat sheet when I outline, so I never really thought about like not doing that necessarily. But I have noticed the way that I'm outlining and plotting my Western apocalyptic fantasy is going a bit differently to how I outlined my Reaper book. It's definitely a bit more complex. There's a lot more involved in this story, just with everything that's going on, as well as the world building involved. But yeah, because of how complex the plot is, I'm finding I'm needing to go back and kind of re-outline certain sections, not by changing up what I originally had, but maybe starting a new document and then rewriting it. So going like, okay, so this is step 1, this is what I'm doing for act 1, and then going down the list of what I want to involve. But then I'll still reference like my original outline I created. Yeah, so it's, I don't know, it's interesting thinking about it. Having a different process for each work in progress. Currently, for my novel that I'm working on now, I do have my scene cards, which I am using Notion to create the scene cards. I also have a few documents I reference as well. So I recently made a document to track my main character's motivations and his objectives for what he wants to accomplish going through the story. So I can note like, okay, this is the moment when he's like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to switch it up and then do something else. And sort of realizing what triggers him to sort of change his mind on things. So I can really, you know, make sure he's focusing on what he wants to achieve. So yeah, just things like that. And he explains like he does that himself. He's completely open to creating mini outlines within the outline. He brainstorms a lot in his notebooks and he'll ask a lot of questions. He'll go into like real in-depth details that he wants to involve in a scene. So yeah, I thought that was a really good takeaway from that section of the class. One thing he also mentioned was making sure to know what you're wanting to accomplish for each chapter and scene. As long as you have that, then you're good. It doesn't really matter how you write it, how you figure it out. As long as you know what you want to write, what you want to accomplish, you're pretty much, yeah, setting yourself up pretty good. So he also talks about red herrings and when to mislead the reader, so you can sort of trick them a little bit. In that sense, you're kind of making them more intrigued. You can like re-engage their excitement, and I thought that was also I don't know, it's something that's always fascinated me, to be able to I guess sort of manipulate readers into thinking something's going to happen and then it doesn't. So yeah, that is a skill I definitely want to work on as well. So I definitely took some notes during that section. So now he's going to go into constructing chapters. So yeah, we'll see what he has to say. Okay, it's just past 6 and I had to stop and get some dinner. So this is my dinner for today. We're having lasagna. Yum. We just finished the writing action portion of the class. I found, I don't know, it might have been because I wasn't listening as well because I was deleting stuff off my camera, but I found this portion, I don't know, I think for what I need help with when it comes to writing action, it wasn't enough to really, you know, give me a lot of insight into writing action. But he basically spoke about slowing down the action scenes, like the portions where something really significant is happening. So whether it's like, you know, doing the killing blow or going over an injury or, you know, some really cool action sequence, just to slow it down to make it more meaningful. He also talks about choreographing the action. So whether you act it out, well, as best as you can, or visualizing it so you can help process it step by step and then write it into the story. I think now I'm up to the part where he's going to go more into his own writing process as well as his experience with publishing and yeah, just his life as a writer. So I am curious as to what he has to say. All right, let's get back into it. Okay, so I just finished the masterclass. I kind of got really immersed in it, so I didn't film as much B-roll for the last like 20 minutes, half an hour there was left of it. It also was a lot of him telling his own experiences and, you know, his own stories and his life as a writer. So it wasn't as much of the, you know, the teaching, giving the tips and advice. It was a lot of examples through his stories and things like that. So I was just really listening to it, and yeah, really, I got really inspired by him too. It was one thing that I noticed when I was listening to him, that his voice is like very compelling. Yeah, a really nice voice to listen to. Yeah, like even when he would read parts of his books to give examples and things like that, and just the way he reads it, it's like, wow. Yeah, so basically the last portion of the masterclass was him talking about his writing process, editing and revising, as well as more of the publishing industry side of things, picking an editor, when to write a series, his life as a writer, and just, you know, those little like motivational bits, you know, to keep going and not losing the thrill for your writing, and how to refill your creative well and things like that. He did touch on his writing process involving having a full-time job, and when he made the decision to actually stop practicing as a lawyer to write full-time, be an author full-time. So the way he went about it, trying to fit the time to write in the day, was he wrote at night. He said he'd usually go to like his little room or office and just write from like 10 till 2 in the morning, because writing in the morning wasn't an option for him. Sometimes he would use his lunch break during work to sort of set up what he was planning to do for the rest of the day with his writing. That was really interesting. I don't know how he could survive on like minimal sleep, but yeah, he just kept going, and he really stressed the point of finding the time to write. Like, in the same way we are creative with our stories, we have to be creative in the way we find time to write, because that's just as important. Otherwise, you know, it really separates those who will actually make it with their writing, actually keep on going. So he really thinks that those that really do persevere and keep going, those are the ones that make it in the end, which I guess makes sense. It was interesting hearing his perspective on it. I really did enjoy this. I didn't realize it was going to take up like the rest of my day. It's like night now, as you can tell by the minimal lighting. For my first masterclass, I really enjoyed it. I feel like, I don't know, I might just spend this week just doing masterclasses every day after work or something. I don't know. It was a lot of fun, and I don't know, something about when we share our experiences and just talking about writing and our processes, that's really inspiring. So I'm really glad I did take this this masterclass. Let me show you my notes that I took. All right, so we've got, I don't know how many pages, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and a bit pages, so that's nice. I'm really curious to see how KaShay goes with this masterclass, and yeah, her thoughts on it. I will link her video down below, so make sure you check in the description box and go watch her video as well. You know, I'm still stuck on the 5 binders of research though. Alright guys, I think that's going to be it from me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below if you've taken a masterclass before, if you've taken David Baldacci's masterclass, what you thought about it, key things that you took away from the masterclass, and yeah, I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!